Okay, hello everyone. Good morning and welcome to the service and support track. My name is Teresa and my colleague Darlene and I will be the MCs for this track over the next 2 days. We have a great mix of sessions from Atlassians, customers, and partners across a variety of really great topics like scaling queues, standardizing your service desk, agile IT, and much more. You'll also learn ways to expand your service use case beyond IT. Before we get started with our first talk, we have a couple of housekeeping items for you. So don't forget to download the mobile app. This is where you'll find the agenda, network with the attendees, and after each session, you'll be able to rate the session as well and let your speakers know how they did. So we're kicking off the track with a really great topic, Beyond IT, how to use Jira Service Desk for non-technical teams. Our presenter, Vincent Wong, is a product manager for Jira Service Desk. He's been working on the product for over 4 years. A couple of fun facts about Vincent. When he is not creating awesome products, you can find him playing saxophone in Sydney on top of rooftops. He really enjoys going to rooftop bars. And he also scripts lullabies on paper napkins at coffee shops. Maybe we'll hear some of that today. So please join me in welcoming Vincent to the stage.
Thank you. I promise I'm also good at IT and service desk as well. I'm Vincent. I'm a product manager from Atlassian working on service desk. I'm from Sydney, so if you don't understand my accent, it sounds a bit funny. I'm Australian. So I've got my block notes, so it makes it even more Australian because I pronounce less syllables. But today we're going to talk about service desk for non-technical teams. So the agenda kind of goes through 3 topics. So why do these non-technical teams need a service desk? And then we'll kind of go through what makes Jira Service Desk great for non-technical teams. And then lastly, rather than just walking you on how to set up workflows, I'll actually show you some real examples of how we use service desks internally in Atlassian, some very common examples, but some very unique examples on how we use service desks in Atlassian, so you guys can take these as inspirations and take it back to your organizations and implement it. So before we begin, let's start with just thinking back the last time you have to get something from another team at work. Something help, a request, you need to get something done from another team. Super easy. I categorize it in 3 big areas myself from my personal experience. The first one's probably the best one, is called ping pong. It's the best of the worst. So you know who you have to talk to, you reach out to them, but then there's just back and forth emails and chats. It goes on for days, goes on for weeks before something actually happens. The next one, the worst, a black hole. This is where you know the team that you have to talk to, you know the team that that gets a request, you talk to them, and then you don't hear from them ever again. They just disappear. And then you have to keep bugging them, and then they're so busy with their things, they have so many things going on, they have no way to really understand, see they missed an email, etc. Happens all the time. The third one is the one that I get the most annoyed about, and I call it the pointer. This is where you actually don't even know where to go to get help or get something done from another team. So you end up asking the person next to you, say, hey, how do I do this? Then they say, oh, talk to this person. And then this other person's like, oh, talk to that department. And then that department's like, no, that's not us. Talk to that other person. And then it keeps pointing. But the worst thing is it goes back into a loop where it goes back to the first person that you ask. And then now this loop just stays in the loop. And you're like, well, what do I do? Anyhow, conclusion, or a mess. This is what we have to deal with day to day. But many of us, when we go to work and deal with this day to day, we just accept it, that it is part of working. It is just everyday work. This is just working. Working is hard. This is the usual thing we have to deal with. This is working together. This is called collaboration. But if we think outside of work, think of how we do live our day-to-day lives. Think about when we go shopping, when we book a hotel, when we go to places. It's very different. It's very different to work. Consumers today live in an on-demand service economy. These on-demand services are all on our fingertips. Think about when you have to go to a movie, when you want to book a taxi ride, when you want a quick meal. You can rely on these on-demand services like Netflix, Uber, Deliveroo. Just one click, you know what services they have, you know how fast they will come to you. Everything is on your fingertips. And these consumers, all of us, the consumers, are also the employees of the organization. We work day to day, but we live different lives outside of work to inside of work. And fun fact, they actually done research and surveys into this, and they found that 75% of employees actually want to order corporate services online at work, just like how they order an Uber, or they order something from Amazon on their fingertips. But most of these people aren't receiving the same great service experience that they're used to. In companies, as we mentioned before, we are used to the old way of locating subject matter experts, of requests. We need to send an email, send chat to them to form a point of contact, build that relationship, and then try to get something out of them. You just can't, one click, get something done. And Ariana Grande summarized perfectly on what we want. I want it, I got it. It's a song, by the way. And Ariana is kind of a German knowledge worker. Yeah. But yeah, so this is the sort of experience that we all want. And sooner or later, it's going to change from being a want to more of a need and a must-have. A recent survey done by Dell that came out a few weeks ago actually showed that 40% of Gen Ys actually won't even want to work with you if you don't provide the technology they expect. And this technology goes more than just things they do day to day, but the technology they use in the organization to get work done. If you tell potential future people to get help, you have to just send an email out to someone, and then they may get back to you. That's not what they're used to. They will jump somewhere that has a better service sort of mindset. And employees, that's what we're talking about, employees expect the same consumer-grade experiences they get from their day-to-day lives. They want exceptional user experience, they want fast service delivery, and they want the ability to help themselves to find information themselves rather than relying on people to slow down their day-to-day processes. But most of the business are sort of stuck in the past. We all have decentralized systems and information all over the place. There's information in different systems, different teams use different things. I've seen different teams using different chat tools, and et cetera. So no one really communicates smoothly with each other. As a team, you also get a lot of requests and asks from other teams, but there's no way right now for you to actually go and understand the demand of your services. It's all a black box. It's just my email inbox, my team's inbox, but we don't really keep track. We don't really understand how much are people asking from us. Are we meeting the expectation to deliver what we have to deliver for other teams? None of those are being tracked. Also, a lot of teams don't even have a process on working efficiently. People just pick things up when they see the email come up, then they go and do it, and they try to kind of do it. But people follow different processes. There's no standardization. There may be processes which takes more steps than they need to do. Some people miss out steps as well. So yeah. But there's this one team in your organization that is very good at this. They have been constantly evolving and developing these processes and ways to be the forefront of services. And these are your IT teams, which I think many of you are. So for many, many years, the IT teams have been improving the ways they deliver services. They now have dedicated tools, universally agreed processes, and principles for delivering new ways for employees in the organization to receive IT services. They thought so much about it, they even made an acronym for it, ITSM. But it doesn't take long for people to realize that IT teams and other business teams actually have a lot in common. They are all, at the end of the day, service providers. So there's a movement that started a few years ago where they sort of start to take on the process and the ideas that IT have generated in ITSM and try to apply it to non-IT teams, non-technical teams. And they call it ESM, or Enterprise Service Management. It is an approach of providing customer with value in the form of services through the adoption of service management practices. They basically translate the ITSM process, takes out the more IT part, and try to make it more general so it can fit in many other teams that are not too technical. There are many benefits of adopting enterprise service management tool or enterprise service management solution in an organization. Firstly, we know in ITSM there's a whole idea of service catalog, etc. You show other people what services you offer. Same thing can apply to non-technical teams. You can show off what services you actually offer so people know these are the things we do, the things that are not here, they are the things we don't do. But you can there are actually many times we've seen there are teams actually in charge of something and they actually offer those services, but no one knows they actually offer those services. Secondly, part of working to get rid of the ping pong, adopting these tools and practices also allow the service teams to think about how they capture requests. In IT, you do it really well where you try to capture as much information from the end user as possible at the start, so you don't have to go through the ping pong to ask for more things. These are the same principles that can apply to non-technical teams as well. Thirdly, they can now centralize sort of how they work, rather than having an email inbox where someone has to pick it up and they miss out on half the tickets. They can easily have an overview on all the things that people have asked them for, and then they can triage it, they can assign to different people. People can start to pick up things and specialize in different areas. So as a team, you start to get better in your services as well. And lastly, probably the most importantly is actually the team can understand how much demand our team is getting and how many people are asking us for things. Then they can go and understand from this what changes they have to make. Do they have to improve their process? Many times they actually even take these reports, bring it up to management. It's like, look, this is how many requests our team is getting. This is how much we have been working. Our team is not big enough. We need more resources. So having a tool like this, allowing you to track everything, allowing you to see the demand, means that your team can be right-sized to tackle what you actually need to deliver for the organization. And you've probably heard from the keynote, we believe that all teams can take advantage of service desks, all teams are service teams, and we believe all teams can take advantage of enterprise service management. There are definitely teams that are more apparent, like if you think about like a facilities team where it seems more apparent that they are a service team, but at the end of the day, we believe that all teams actually perform some sort of services in organization. If you think about, you all work in teams, even though maybe you don't see yourself as a service provider, like for example, a design team, at the end of the day, the design team works with other teams to deliver something. Other teams ask them for things, and they try to deliver in an expected time. So these are all services teams. At the end of the day, in Atlassian, we believe that all teams are service teams. A great example of that is that in-house in Atlassian, we actually seen the adoption of services grow from all these non-technical teams using us. All these teams have now sort of identified themselves as service teams and have gone and created a service desk. In Atlassian, we have more than 130 plus service desks. We no longer use email or phone to sort of ask each other on what to do. Majority of our asks for other teams, from facilities to legal, etc., goes through a service desk, which later we'll definitely show you some examples of how it works. Another custom example is CSIRO, started on the IT team as well, but then soon other teams that realized that the benefit of using service desks and taking on this whole service mindset, from teams like finance to even like library services, etc., start to use service desks as well. And they've seen a massive drop in email requests coming through after adopting service desks. So we think service desk naturally makes a great fit for enterprise service management. We started off service desk as an IT tool, but our vision of our product have always that one day we believe that all teams can take advantage of service desks and we can power all teams in your organization. What makes JSD great as an enterprise service management tool is that it's very easy to set up. You saw the keynote in the new next-gen Jira Service Desk, simple drag and drop of fields, simple workflows, very quick to set up. Also, there's the flexibility of the platform that we offer. Jira Service Desk, we give you the whole platform of fields, workflows, etc., so you can mold the product into what your team needs and how your team works. The platform allows you to customize whatever the team needs to actually get the work done and get the services in place. Thirdly, Service Desk also offers a whole heap of integration to third-party tools that a lot of your teams will be using day to day. Things from Dropbox to Google Drive to Slack, etc. Service Desk have integration to them, so your team can remain in the tools they like to use, but also use Service Desk along with these tools they love and use day to day. Lastly, probably the best deal is that Service Desk is one of the lowest priced Service Desk tools in the market. And by more people using Service Desk, the price actually even get cheaper and cheaper, so that it makes Service Desk very easy to spread across the organization. Forrester recently did the latest Forrester Wave on Enterprise Service Management 2018. And it showed that Service Desk is one of the strong performers in the market, in this market. So it's not just me telling you, the industry also shows that we're doing pretty well. We are also one of the strongest in our strategy in this area. So you have Forrester's backing on that Service Desk can make and can be a great enterprise service management solution. And one thing I touch on is about we're giving you the platform. And that's very different to what many of our competitors do, where you have to go and buy additional modules. For example, you have to go buy an HR module, go buy a marketing module. We don't offer modules. We give you everything when you buy Service Desk. We give you the ability to create projects. We give you the ability to create your issue types, your request types, and the workflows, so that you have everything you need at the start to actually create Service Desk for all teams, not just your IT team. All the components you need are in place within Service Desk. And that's how we see the spread of Service Desk happens. It usually comes in the IT team, spreads outwards. CSRO quoted to us that when other teams find out about Service Desk, it spreads like wildfire. It doesn't take long before you switch from 1 team to 10 teams, 100 teams starting to use Service Desk in your organization. And we found this spread usually happens, as I mentioned, IT. IT is usually the first team that picks up Service Desk and brings it into the organization. And when IT does that, they now show the other employees in the organization that on their help center, the new way of them working, thinking of like knowledge base, etc., other teams start to take notice. It's like when they ask for requests from an IT team, they're like, oh, hey, this thing is kind of cool. I think I could use something like this. Then IT team work with them and help them take on Service Desk. And soon, other teams that work with those teams also see the benefits of them, and then they start taking on Service Desk. And sooner or later, all teams start to take on Service Desk, and pretty much we have Service Desk standardized across the organization. As I mentioned before, all teams can take advantage of Service Desk. However, there are some teams that are definitely very common that we see taking on Service Desk. So these are the 4 teams that we see, not from internally, but also externally from our customers, that are the most popular in taking on Service Desk. And those are the sort of the more common things they do with Service Desk. Things like facilities with like office supplies, cleaning, repair, etc. Event assistant, they use Service Desk for. HR also takes on it a lot, especially on employee onboarding, when you have HR and IT teams working very closely together to do something. Service Desk makes it great because your IT and HR team together can work together on the same Service Desk. Issues can be seen across both parties, etc. Legal team also uses it very heavily, and same with marketing teams for like campaign requests, social media content, etc. We see these are the 4 most common Service Desk teams we see. The next section we kind of jump into is that I want to talk through how Atlassian uses Service Desk. I sort of took a few examples of how our unique approach is a bit different to other people, but it showcases how Service Desk is used in-house and how it lifts the team up from being just the old team they used to be, to now they're thinking of like delivering the next level of services in their respective area. So one of the biggest use case of service desk in-house is our workplace experience team. So the workplace experience team look after a whole heap of things, from event assistance to security to like even business cards, etc., visiting other offices. Almost 100% of the requests currently the team needs to work on comes through the service desk. So with that, they showcases a lot of different request types, etc. They take advantage of the request type groups in service desk to showcases the bigger areas that they have covering to make it easy for the help seekers to sort of go through and look for the areas they need to raise a request in. For the request type groups, they start listing out the different kind of services they offer. This is the first time in Atlassian where we actually start using services for a non-technical use case, and a lot of people have actually realized that this team actually provides services that we didn't know they do. For example, they actually do, like if you have a baby, you can organize a baby gift through this team. They always had this thing, but no one ever took advantage of it. But now by showcasing it on the service desk portal, the employees in the organization realizes, oh, hey, they can do this, and then next time when someone had a baby, etc., they know where to go to look for this request. They also spend a lot of time thinking through how they actually implement their request type fields. So you see very clearly they try to take in as much information as possible. The drop-down fields are very great because they allows the end user to pick something rather than them just putting in plain text and you having very many different versions of the same thing. They take advantage of the cascading fields as well, where you can have one select, and then based on the value, the next drop-down value changes as well. So this one we're showcasing a repair request where you can select a bunch of areas and then what is broken in this area. So the first tip around this area is that if you don't know where to start and don't know what services you want to create or what forms you want to have, simply just look back in what you have right now. That's the first tip I always give people. You probably have a lot of emails, a lot of chat, history, etc. Go through all of them to actually understand what are the more common asks they are. It's okay to start without a perfect service desk with all the fields, etc. in place. Just start with what you know. You always keep a request type that is more open, just a general question one. And as you go on, you actually start to see more common requests coming through, and that's when you can start to tailor your fields more and when you can actually tailor the different request types more as well. And for our workplace experience team, after the request is created, they use a very simple workflow to sort of track through how they go through this request. They started off with a very simple one of to do. I picked it up, it's done. But then they soon realized that during the in-progress stage, a lot of the tasks actually require a third party to do it, and they want to keep a better eye on third party doing things. So they simply just added a waiting for third party statuses, which enables them to split off the queues, split up the filters, and have people directly assigned to actually look after and make sure the third party actually finish the things so that we can actually get the things fixed. And all the information actually is captured within the issue as well. They use this to give updates, link out to other tickets in third party as well, so that the service desk actually becomes this one place where we can actually see all the activity and all the things that actually happen within the ticket, what state it is in. All of us can sort of log in and actually go and have a look to see okay, is this thing done yet? You look at the status, you look at the updates from the agents as well. And it's not uncommon to see things like this in the office. The first photo was a toilet, but it was stuck. But then I found this, so you guys are lucky. This tab is broken as well, or you have a stuck toilet. But we see this everywhere. If you walk through the Atlassian office, you'll see Post-it notes everywhere where things are broken, people will go and raise a request, and then they come back and write it on a quick Post-it note saying, hey, I raised a request. This is the request detail. You can go and have a look if you are really curious when they will fix the tab. They just scattered everywhere, lights, floors, tables, etc. They just have Post-it notes everywhere with a ticket number to show, because this service desk is become such a big thing that like people actually go and actively raise tickets to get things fixed and keep everyone updated on the same page. The next team I want to highlight is our legal team. So our legal team uses it for a lot of things as well. All the contracts, NDA, etc., goes through the service desk. I won't go through about how they use forms, etc. again, but one special area that the legal team love about service desk is the idea of record keeping. So record keeping for a legal team is very important. It allows them to go back when they get challenges on things or when they have to look back at the decision. Service desk obviously is just one place where all your things are being tracked. As a legal team, they want to make sure all the communication to even employees or to external stakeholders, all the decisions they've made have kept as a record. So service desk actually made a great tool for this legal team. And now director of legal actually even takes it a step further. When they actually get new legal requests coming through, they actually look back into the past to see similar requests to see how they solve it. It's very similar to how you work in IT as well. When you get IT requests coming through, you know you have worked on this before, you go and look back and actually understand if you can do very similar solutions to solve this request. They take advantage of the filters and search capability very heavily because all the things you create in service desk, all the fields, etc., are filterable and searchable. It makes it very easy for this legal team to go back and actually look back at the decisions they have made, look back on the communications that have gone out to actually make new decisions or confirm their decision-making skills in the past as well. It's basically a big database of information. And all these data are not great for searching through, but it can actually be used to improve the service desk. So the legal team, after a while, looking back at the data, actually start seeing a lot of more requests coming through where they only have to just say approve, yes, no, yes, no. A lot of them don't really actually have to require them to go through in great detail to analyze the request coming in, the service coming in, etc. They saw about like 20–30% of the tickets forming into that way. So what they did is they took this data, they realized this thing, they look at what sort of requests are the types that come in where they don't really have to do much work on it. And then they created this legal express lane. So one of the ideas is, one of the content approvals service desk. So this deck, all the decks that we submit here, needs to go through a content approval. But then in many times, if you just submit all the tickets through service desk for content approval, your legal team in the past will have to look through all of them. But now, they sort of look through the data to see what are the things that we actually need to actually approve. So if your content doesn't talk about any of our sensitive data, doesn't talk about using any like competitors, etc. If you answer the question with no, then rather than sending a ticket to them and having them spend the time, click on the ticket, read through you said no on everything, and then press approve. Now this ticket just automatically goes through and approves itself. But if you said yes on the other ones, then it goes to a different queue where the legal team will look into it. For those who knows ITIL, this is pretty much a standard change. So they basically just came up with standard change themselves. They were very proud. But it shows that a lot of the things that we use in ITIL day-to-day, ITSM, it actually directly applies to non-technical teams as well. So this is a great example of that. The last one is probably the most special sort of cultural thing in Atlassian. It's called kudos. Some of you may have heard of it. It's how we give thanks to each other. The kudos program allows an employee in Atlassian to say thanks to another employee to appreciate the awesome things that they have done. So it's usually you say thanks, you get a little card that says kudos with your message on it, why you want to thank them, and you get a little gift card or gift voucher, etc. All of the kudos in Atlassian is powered through service desk. So when you want to give a kudos, you go to the kudos service desk, you go through and you actually select the user, So here I selected Teresa for helping for my deck. You sort of go through, you can pick the prices, pick the location, pick who is the person that should collect the gift to deliver to Teresa as well. This is very simple, but since we like to give thanks a lot in Atlassian, they actually take it to the next level where they started to automate these requests coming in to save the Kudos team a lot of time. So in the past, the Kudos team would go through the queue each week. They will go and handwrite all the cards, put all the gift vouchers in, put it in an envelope, etc. But now the Kudos team, this process has been automated by we connected a printer and we wrote a little script so that we converted the actual service requests coming in each week, and they can hit a button each week and it just prints out all the service requests for Kudos that week in that location, gets printed out in this printer, and then the team can actually quickly and very fast to package all these little envelopes and give it out to the people. And it's one way that it saves them so much time, but it shows that service desk extends out to more than just a simple request management. You can start to influence how you work and help you work better as well. So those are the three examples I picked out. But the thing about many teams using service desk is that you end up with having one place for help in your organization. So in Atlassian, because all 130 plus teams use a service desk, this is our customer help center where we can actually look for all the services in one spot. Not only browsing through them for different teams, but you can actually search through them as well. So if you don't know anything, you can actually go and search for, I need my toilet fixed. And then the right request type will come back up. So this is a great way, Atlassian, we even label this go/help. So like anyone can very quickly go to go/help, and then they can get requests from any teams from facilities team to the Kudos team to even many other teams like analytics, et cetera, that are traditionally not a service desk team, but they provide service requests as well. Lastly, I sort of want to talk this lovely company called Proforma. Proforma is a third-party vendor for Atlassian on Atlassian's marketplace, and it's a great Proforma Atlassian works great together, and especially great for enterprise service management. Proforma is a form and checklist builder for Jira. It's available on both cloud and server. It enhances service desk in many different ways. It allows you to build on top of service desk to create forms. So you see request types, but sometimes request types get very long. So rather than having a very long request types, you can have a shorter request type and use Proforma to attach certain forms to it. It also allows you to update issue after creation. So this is a good example shown on screen where it's a travel request. So before you raise the request, you fill in the form for the approval to go to the conference, for the manager to review the approval. But then after the trip, you can actually send them a new form where you actually fill in your trip report for tax purposes. So Proforma also allows you to create multiple forms. They have all the goodies in form creation where you can do dynamic forms, etc. So you can tackle a very complex form as well. But the best bit of Proforma is not just the feature, it's the library of forms they have. So Proforma offers a huge template of forms that are already pre-built from IT, from finance, HR, legal, etc. that they actually give you for free as templates. So everything from like purchase requests to invoicing, etc. they're all available to you. So go check them out. They have a booth, I think, in the expo hall as well. So definitely have a look at them. So that brings me to the end. So the key takeaway I want you guys to leave with is that building a service desk for non-technical teams is actually not as hard as you think. You can easily get started, as you heard from the keynote. And then start with something basic, see how you use it, learn from it, and then improve it as you go. Don't need to go and actually do a study on everything. Just start with something like very open, see what the requests coming in are, see what are the things that are missing, and then you go and improve it. And the most important takeaway is that enterprise service management is no longer just a buzzword. It's not some future thing. It's actually happening right now. I talked to a lot of you already on the Expo Hall about how you use enterprise service management with Service Desk, and I want to confirm that it's not a buzzword. It's here to stay. It's going to be the next big thing in the organization. I showcase a lot of Service Desk capability. If you actually want to learn how it works in detail, or actually want me to show you how to set it up, etc., we have lots of great Service Desk product managers and engineers at the booth. So come by, talk to us, and we can definitely show you more in depth on like what Service Desk have on offer as well. And that's all I have today. Thank you. Yeah, we can do some questions if you want.
Yeah, we have time for 1 or 2 questions.
First and foremost, great talk, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
One of the biggest things that we find as admins is that a lot of non-technical teams love Service Desk to field their requests, but it's really difficult to train them to be agents because it can be very technical. Mm-hmm. What are some things that you've seen that can help non-technical users become Service Desk agents?
Yeah, so I see a lot of teams try to tailor their Service Desk to help them use it. So that's the feedback I always give to people. They don't have to use the queues. If it doesn't work for them, happy to them to use something else. So we see a lot of the teams actually live off the filters itself. We see a lot of teams, some teams actually even hook up a Jira software board to a Service Desk, so it gets more familiar with the board view for services as well. And and I see a lot of the teams using the dashboard functionality in Jira and create like a custom dashboard that is just for that team, get all the things they need, and then get them to work it out. So I think the idea is actually to sort of train the team through how they go by day to day to use Service Desk, but then don't force them to use something if it's way too difficult. Maybe jump to something easier first. It may not be perfect for them, but then as they keep going, they will actually start to realize the benefit of working in the queue way, and then we actually see that people naturally will jump over because they will get so much requests using the dashboard and the boards, and it's no longer scaling. And then they're like, hey, I have this problem, and then that's when you start introducing them, like working as an agent as well. And in terms of workflow, et cetera, again, stay simple, try to tailor to what they need. Like I see a lot of teams get freaked out about like things like SLAs as well, but it's good to track them, just let them know, hey, you don't have to obey by that, but you get the data as well to improve. Again, it's a small step-by-step learning curve to bring them to be an agent, so yeah.
One of the things you just mentioned was SLAs. Are you guys looking to implement OLAs in the near future, that since it is a different terminology and a different meaning behind it than SLAs?
Yeah, so I don't think we have any plans for that at the moment. Are you just looking for different types of SOAs or just the wording that?
Some of the, like if we're using these internally, the proper term in like ITSM is really OLAs, and SLAs do have like a contract level agreement generally implied. So having the term LOAs makes our legal team feel a little bit better.
Yeah, we're definitely looking into like a bigger project to actually think through the namings of like things like issues, etc., that we think is definitely very technical sounding. So that's something going on internally where we're looking as a whole, like how we word things to make it sound more sort of general and people will understand and not get freaked out, because like an incident to an HR team is pretty crazy compared to an incident to an IT team. So yeah.
I have a question about actually what is the easiest way to try to move consumers from being used to an agent, kind of a agent UI where everybody is basically licensed as an agent, but now they're moving over to a customer. What's the easiest way to transition a user from an agent to a customer perspective?
So you want to
So a use case that we had was almost the previous installation that we had, everybody was basically licensed as a Service Desk agent.
Yeah.
So now, in order to conform with the newer licenses, started moving, because not everybody needed to be an agent, and everybody was used to being an agent and looking at that agent portal. But now they're transitioning over to a customer where they're still used to all the ways that an agent is using Service Desk. So what is the easiest way to get them to understand the concept between the two, from basically changing from an agent where they think they're able to do everything, like the most important thing is like just adding somebody, where now you just shared the ticket, which is a little bit easier, but they're still used to the adding part. So what's the easiest way to transition between the two?
Oh, that's a difficult. Like we at Atlassian had that problem as well because we used to give everyone agent licenses. It was a hard switch. I think we communicated internally what are the mappings of the two different ways. In terms of actually converting the user in user management is pretty easy to do, but in terms of the education of like what's the same, what's the difference, in Atlassian we did a sort of a hard switch where we told them this is the new way, you're not going to go in and like access the internal guts of it because you miss out on a lot of things as well, being an agent, but you're acting as a customer. We simply just had a blog post which showcases what are the the common things they want to do, how to do them, and then one day we just make the hard switch where we got rid of like agent licenses for the people that doesn't need it. So yeah, it's a hard. Sorry, I don't have anything more. Yeah, it's a difficult problem to solve, definitely.
Cool, great. Thanks for joining, everybody.